Good morning, friends. So, in the last class, we discussed on how fiber reinforced composites are different from metals. Then we looked into different types of fibers or reinforcements which are used in composites like carbon fiber, glass fiber, ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, Dyneema, which is again a ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, aramide fibers like Kevlar 49. We just discussed them in brief. The fibers will be discussed in detail in the topic or in the subject on technical fibers, right? So today let us discuss about the other important component of a composite, which is a matrix. So we all know the functions of matrices. What are the functions of matrices? The main function of the matrix is to keep the fibers in place, to transfer the stresses between the fibers, to provide a barrier against an adverse environment such as chemicals and moisture, and to protect the surface of the fibers from mechanical degradation. So this we have studied. Like the matrix keeps the fibers in particular orientation and in separation. We have also seen how the stress is transferred between the fibers through a matrix. Then we have seen that the matrix acts as a shielding material. It shields the fibers from environmental effects such as chemicals and moisture. It also protects the fiber. Like if there is a composite and that composite is, suppose in application, it rubs against the other part. Now the fibers do not go under direct abrasion with the other surface. It is the matrix which is enclosing or shielding the fibers which is exposed to abrasion, or it is exposed to mechanical degradation. Thereby the fibers are being shielded by the matrix, right? That is the protective function of the matrix. So these things we have discussed. Now, the composites on the basis of matrices is classified as metal matrix composite, ceramic matrix composite, and polymer matrix composite. The polymer matrix is further classified as thermoset and thermoplastic matrix, right? So here the reinforcement can be anything. It can be carbon, it can be glass, it can be Kevlar, or it can be a certain metal in the form of fiber, or it can be a ceramic in the form of fiber, right? But the matrix will be a metal matrix. It can be a ceramic matrix, or it can be a polymer matrix. In polymer matrix, there is thermoset and thermoplastic matrix. So this class, that is a polymer matrix composites, are highly popular. In that also, it was said that around 97% of the composites were produced using thermoset matrices. Okay. So the applications of metal matrix and ceramic matrix are very limited. They are usually used in very severe environments where the temperature and other conditions in which the composite wing is used are severe, right? So we'll be just looking into what are different kind of metal matrices that are being used. What are the reinforcement that are used for metal matrices? What are advantages of metal matrices? And what are disadvantages of metal matrices? Similarly, for ceramic matrix, we will be seeing what are the different kind of ceramic matrices that are used in composite. What are the reinforcement for the ceramic matrices, or what are the fibers that are suitable for the reinforcement in the ceramic matrices? Why ceramic matrix is to be reinforced? And then we will also be looking into advantages and disadvantages of ceramic matrix. Similarly, in polymer matrix, we'll be going into slight details of what is thermoset, what is thermoplastic, what are their advantages and disadvantages, how thermoset matrix is cured to produce a composite, how thermoplastic matrix is cured to produce a composite, right? So these things we'll be discussing, and finally we'll be discussing what should be a requirement of matrix in a composite for high performance composite and for polymer matrix composite. Okay, right. Now, composites on the basis of matrices are classified as metal matrix composite, ceramic matrix composite, and polymer matrix composite as discussed. Now, what are the matrices of metals that are used in composites? The matrices of aluminium, magnesium, and titanium. You know, all these are the well-known metals which are used or which are reinforced. These matrices of aluminium, magnesium, or titanium are reinforced by strong stiff fibers. So these strong stiff fibers are reinforcement. It can be a carbon fiber, it can be a ceramic fiber like silicon carbide, and those things we'll be discussing. But major matrices which are used in metal matrix composites are aluminium, magnesium, titanium, and their alloys, right? Similarly, ceramic matrix composite are the least common composite matrix. The main problem with ceramic matrices or ceramic materials are that they are extremely brittle. So ceramic matrices are usually reinforced in order to ensure their increase in toughness or increase in their energy absorption or increase in their propagation or resistance to propagation of crack, right? So least common composite matrices are ceramic matrix composites, and ceramics are extremely brittle and thereby they are reinforced in order to improve their toughness. So next is polymer matrix composite. In polymer matrix composite, as I have discussed, there are two main types of matrices, that is thermosetting and thermoplastic. And as I said earlier, that thermosetting resins are the most widely used polymers in polymer matrix composites. These resins are commonly mixed with fiber reinforcement to produce a composite. Now, there are certain disadvantages of thermosetting resins which are overcome by use of thermoplastic resins. Like, what are the disadvantages of thermosetting resins that thermoplastic overcome? Are that limited shelf life at room temperature prior to curing. So what is that? We will see. Limited shelf life at room temperature, that is, if you keep the thermosetting resin at room temperature, it will solidify, and thereby it is necessary to keep the pre-preg made from the thermosetting resin into a refrigeration condition. Then we will look into the other problem with the thermosetting resin, which is overcome by the thermoplastic resin, is that it has got low strength to failure. Like, that is, its impact energy absorption is poor. It is a brittle material. It cannot be melted and reshaped. Why it cannot be melted and reshaped? We will look into that details. But thermoplastic resins can be melted and reshaped. And it has lower fracture resistance. So what does it mean? Is that suppose in a composite, in a matrix, if there is a generation of a small crack, so that crack will easily propagate throughout the composite. That growth of that crack cannot be restricted. That is the lower fracture resistance, whereas thermoplastic resins are having the better fracture resistance. So these are the different disadvantages of thermosetting resin which are being overcome by the thermoplastic resin. So they are posing as a competitor to thermosetting resin today. And thus thermoplastic resins are finding increased applications in composites. Now let us look into the details of metal matrices initially. Now, as the name suggests, here the matrix used is metal. Now, metal matrices are not suitable for regular applications. They are used where long-term resistance to severe environments such as high temperature is desired. So in extremely severe environments where the composite is being used will be exposed to the what we can call as high temperatures, metal matrices are preferred. So this is one of the advantages of metal matrices, that the composite produced from metal matrices are suitable for use in severe environments such as high temperature. Now we all know that the metals are having isotropic properties, right? They also have high yield strength and modulus, as we discussed in the last class, and they are isotropic in nature, and thereby their transverse strength and modulus as well as compressive strength and modulus will also be advantageous. So if you use a metal matrix, then in that composite we can have a better transverse strength. What is a transverse strength? A transverse strength is a strength in a direction perpendicular to the direction of orientation of fibers, right? So if you use a metal matrix, because of the isotropic properties of metals, that composite will be also having a higher transverse strength and modulus, as well as it will be having a higher compressive strength as well as modulus, right? So the yield strength and modulus of most metals are higher than those for polymers, right? For as compared to polymer matrix composite, the yield strength and modulus of the metals are higher, and this becomes an important criteria for applications in which you require high transverse strength and modulus as well as high compressive strength and modulus. So this is again an advantage of metal matrix. Now another advantage of using metals is that it can be plastically deformed. Like plastics, you can melt it and you can form into different shapes and then you can solidify it. Similarly, in metal matrices, you can melt them, you can plastically deform them into particular shape, and then you can cool them down to freeze in that particular shape. And once plastically deformed, they can also be strengthened by a variety of thermal and mechanical treatments. Right? So this is another advantage of the metal matrix. So there are certain disadvantages of metal matrix, like metals have number of disadvantages. First, one of the disadvantages, high density. Now if the density of the metal is higher, like it is usually higher as we have seen in the last class, then the strength to weight ratio and modulus to weight ratio of composite decreases. That is what we do not want. We want a composite to be light and we want it to be strong at the same time. Similarly, we want the composite to be stiff as well as light at the same time. But in severe environments where the application demands higher temperature resistance, we have to use metals, but that decreases the strength to weight ratio and modulus to weight ratio of a composite because of high density of metals as a matrix. Similarly, it has got high melting point. Now this high melting point, it is an advantage as far as the application is concerned. Okay, but if the temperature or the melting temperature of the matrix is high, it is going to create problem in processing. Like आप composite अगर बना रहे हो तो composite बनाते वक्त आपको high temperature use करना पड़ेगा matrix को melt करने के लिए. Is it okay? Right? And then that will consume the energy to a higher extent, and in that sense it is a negative point, or it can act as a disadvantage. And similarly, the metals have a tendency for corrosion at the fiber matrix interface, right? So this is another disadvantage. You all know that metals corrode, and thereby at the fiber matrix interface there will be always a possibility of corrosion because of presence of metal matrix, right? So these are the different disadvantages, like high density, high melting point and high corrosion. Whereas advantages are, it can be plastically deformed and strengthened. This is one of the advantage, and high melting temperature is the other advantage, and it can also provide better compressive strength as well as transverse strength, right? Now let us look into what are the common metal matrices that are being used. Aluminium and titanium are the common metal matrices, as well as the alloys of aluminium and titanium are most widely used as metal matrix. Now both of these metals, that is aluminium and titanium, have a comparatively lower densities and are available in a variety of alloy forms. They have a comparatively lower density when compared to that of steel, and they can be made available into variety of alloy forms. Everyone knows what is an alloy, right? Similarly, all the magnesium is also widely or not widely used. Why it is not widely used, we'll see. See, magnesium is even lighter than aluminium and titanium. That is, density of magnesium will be lower than aluminium and titanium. But the main problem with the magnesium is that it has an affinity, it has a liking towards oxygen, and thereby it promotes the atmospheric corrosion. So main problem, if you use the metal matrix as magnesium in the composite, the main problem with it is that it leads to the atmospheric corrosion at the fiber matrix interface, and it makes it less suitable for many applications. Now beryllium is the lightest of all structural metals, and it has also got high tensile modulus. So what are the advantages with beryllium as a matrix? It is the lightest, that is its density will be low, and if its density is low, then it will provide a very high tensile strength to weight ratio as well as higher modulus to weight ratio, and it has also absolute value of tensile modulus which is higher than the other metals. But the main problem with beryllium again is that it has got a very poor energy absorption. That is, it is extremely brittle, and if it is exposed to a shock, it will break, right? So beryllium suffers from extreme brittleness, which is the reason for its exclusion as a potential matrix material. Then there are superalloys like nickel and cobalt based superalloys, which are also used as matrix. Again, the problem with this is that they have a tendency towards the oxidation of the fibers, right? So these superalloys, these are usually used in the applications such as jet engines. So what are jet engines? You can go to Google and see. It is very interesting application. So nickel and cobalt based superalloys have also been used as matrix. However, the alloying elements in these materials tend to accentuate the oxidation of fibers at elevated temperatures. Now carbon fibers, silicon carbide fiber and boron fiber, these are the fibers which are used as reinforcement to metallic matrices. Now we have seen what are the different kind of metallic matrices like aluminium, titanium, beryllium, right? Nickel and cobalt based alloys, superalloys. So these all matrices have to be reinforced, right? So these matrices are reinforced with the fibers like carbon fiber, silicon carbide, boron fiber. We have discussed carbon fiber and silicon carbide fiber. Silicon carbide is a ceramic fiber, and carbon fiber is a fiber which is highly used, or which finds a potential application in composites. It's all kinds of matrices like metal matrix, ceramic matrix as well as polymer matrix. So these are used as reinforcement to enhance the properties of metallic matrices, whereas metallic matrices ensures that the application in which the composite wing is used is a high temperature application. Now let us look into ceramic matrices. Now as we know, ceramics are widely known for their high temperature stability similar to that of metals. And what are the difference between ceramic and metals? Like this will be your homework. You should go to Google and search what are the difference in the properties of ceramic and metals. Then you will be able to appreciate the property differences in ceramic, metals and fiber reinforced composite. Now coming to the topic, like ceramics are having high temperature stability. They have high thermal shock resistance. Ceramics also have high modulus. They have high hardness and they have high corrosion resistance. And another advantage when compared to that of metals is that ceramic has the low density. So the ratio of strength to weight and modulus to weight will be significantly higher in ceramics when compared to that of metals. However, the main problem with ceramic is that it is a brittle material, right? So this is the last time or in the introduction class I gave you an example of a crucible which you are using in chemistry lab, which is a 100% ceramic material, and it is a brittle material. If it falls, it will crack, it will break. And the second thing is that it possesses low resistance to crack propagation. So this thing I have discussed, like if a crack is originated in a composite which is made out of a ceramic matrix, then that crack will easily propagate, or that crack will easily move throughout the composite, thereby decreasing the energy absorption capacity of the composite. So low resistance to crack propagation, which is manifested in their low fracture toughness. So this is the disadvantage of or these are the disadvantages of the ceramic matrices. What are the disadvantages? They are brittle materials, their resistance to crack propagation is lower, and as the resistance to crack propagation is lower, they have lower fracture toughness. The primary reason for reinforcing a ceramic fiber is to increase its fracture toughness. Okay, so I will slightly explain this point, right? Okay. In brief, I will explain. Now, suppose this is the composite. This is the matrix part, and suppose these are the fibers. Okay. So I have shown some kind of fibers. Now let us consider another composite. Not composite, let us consider another thing that is just a matrix. Now this is only ceramic matrix. It is not reinforced with fibers. Okay. So this is only ceramic matrix, and this is ceramic composite in which the fibers are used as reinforcement. Now what happens? Now whatever color I draw, that will be a crack. Suppose a crack originates here. If a crack originates here in this ceramic matrix, now it is only a ceramic matrix I am saying, right? It does not have any kind of fibers. So this crack will easily propagate from here to here. There is nothing stopping it. Thereby the energy absorption of this material will decrease. Now what happens when you reinforce it with fibers? This crack comes till here. Now it finds the obstruction of fiber. So it has to move around the fiber. Then it will move, then it finds another fiber, then again it has to move around the fiber. Then when it comes around this fiber, it has to move around this fiber, right? And thereby the path of crack propagation increases. Can you visualize this? This path of crack propagation, suppose here from here to here, if it travels a distance of 10 centimeter, for example, suppose, right? It travels a distance of 10 centimeter. But here, because of presence of fibers, this travel distance may increase to 20 centimeters, right? So as the crack propagation distance increases, or the length of the crack propagation increases, because of the presence of the fibers, the energy absorption of this material increases. And that is why you have to reinforce the ceramic materials to improve its, fracture toughness. So the primary reason for reinforcing a ceramic matrix is to increase its fracture toughness. Okay. Now there are different kinds of ceramic matrices. Ceramic matrices can be either in the form of oxides or non-oxides. Structural ceramic used as matrix materials can be categorized as either oxides or non-oxides. So alumina and mullite are two commonly used oxide ceramics. They are known for their thermal stability and chemical stability, right? So the common non-oxide ceramics, so these are the oxide ceramics. The common non-oxide ceramics are silicon carbide, silicon nitride, boron carbide, and aluminum nitride. Of the silicon carbide has found the wider application because it has got a very high modulus, and it also has an excellent high temperature stability, right? So silicon carbide is used where we want high temperature stability as well as high modulus, whereas silicon nitride is used for applications requiring high strength, whereas aluminum nitride is required for application requiring high thermal conductivity. And what are the reinforcement which are used in ceramic matrices? These are mostly the ceramic fibers, ceramic in the form of fibers, and here the ceramic is in the form of matrix. So the ceramic matrices are usually reinforced by ceramics only in the form of fibers. So silicon carbide, silicon nitride, aluminum nitride, and other are the reinforcement which are used for reinforcing ceramic fibers. Okay. So friends, once you have discussed the metal matrices and ceramic matrices, let us now move on to polymeric matrices. Now you know that what is a polymer? Polymer is a long chain molecule which is containing the repeating unit of one or more monomers, right? Now this is a polypropylene. So here this is the repeating unit of propylene, and such multiple propylenes are joined together, thereby forming a polypropylene, right? Now this is the repeating unit of nylon 6,6, right? So this is propylene, this is propylene, this is propylene, and such several propylenes are joined together, right? And thereby it forms a polypropylene. So polymer is nothing but a long chain molecule containing one or more repeating units of monomers joined together, right? And what is a polymeric material? Which we commonly call it as a plastic. So polymeric material is a collection of large number of polymer molecules. So the collection of large number of polymer molecules. So a polymeric material will consist of large number of polymer molecules, right? Now we'll be looking into two different types of polymeric matrices. First is thermoset and another is thermoplastic, right? Now, as we have seen, what is a polymer? It consists of large number of chains of polymer molecules. Now suppose this is one chain of polymer molecule, this is another chain of polymer molecule, and this is another chain of polymer molecule, and this is entire polymeric material, right? Now you will see that these polymeric molecules are joined to each other, or these polymeric chains, different polymeric chains are joined to each other by means of a crosslink. So once they join to each other by means of a crosslink, they form a rigid three-dimensional network, right? Which cannot be melted, which cannot be reshaped, which cannot be recycled. So this is the peculiarity of a thermoset resin, right? So in a thermoset polymer, the molecules are chemically joined together by crosslinks, right? So these are the polymeric chains, these are the polymeric molecules, and these polymeric molecules are joined together by means of a crosslinks. So these are called as crosslinks. Once these crosslinks are formed during the polymerization reaction, right, which is also known as a curing reaction, that is, curing reaction is nothing but the change in the state of a matrix or resin from viscous state to solid state, right? So once the crosslinks are formed during the polymerization reaction, also known as the curing reaction, the thermoset polymer cannot be melted by the application of heat. So once you apply the heat to it, it cannot be melted again. However, if the number of crosslinks is low, right, it may still be possible to soften them at elevated temperature. So as you can see here, these are the crosslinks. If the number of crosslinks are low, right, so in that case, even then in that case, it won't be possible to melt it, but it will be possible to soften it, and that too at a very high temperature, that is a elevated temperature. Now thermoset resins, they are also called as resins, and they are most widely used matrix material in fiber reinforced composite in the category of polymer matrix composite. The starting material used in the polymerization of a thermoset polymer. So the main advantage with the thermoset polymer is that it has got a very low viscosity. That is, the starting material used in the polymerization of a thermoset polymer are usually low molecular weight liquid chemicals which have very low viscosities. That is why thermoset polymers or thermoset matrices or thermoset resins are highly preferred in the applications involving continuous fibers, right? Because of their low viscosity, they can easily move throughout the reinforcement at the intersection point of fibers or at the intersection point of yarn in fabrics, and thereby we will be having the matrix at each and every point inside the reinforcement, right? And that is one of the major advantages of thermoset resin, that it has got a very low viscosity. its viscosity is very low, it will flow like a water, right? So fibers are either pulled through or immersed in these chemicals before the polymerization reaction. So we'll be looking into these processes of fiber pulling through or immersing in chemicals, right? So different processes for production of the composites using thermoset resin in which the fibers are pulled through or immersed in chemicals are like filament winding and pultrusion. So these two processes we'll be discussing when we go into the fabrication of the composites. Now the viscosity of polymer at the time of fiber incorporation is very low, right? And so to increase the viscosity of this thermoset resin, a certain kind of chemical which is known as hardener is added to the low viscosity or low molecular weight, low viscosity thermoset resin. So once the hardener is added, then the curing reaction begins. Now the curing reaction can occur at a room temperature. What is a curing reaction? I have already told you that it is a change in the state from the low viscous state to the solid state when it is incorporated into the fibers, right? So this curing reaction can occur either at a room temperature or it can occur at an elevated temperature. It can also occur under elevated pressure. So it is possible to achieve a good wet out of the fibers and matrix without the aid of either high temperature or pressure, right? Because of low viscosity, it is possible that the matrix will completely surround or completely occupy or completely weight the fiber. There won't be any part of the fiber which is starving for matrix, right? So matrix will completely weight it out, right? And which is an important criteria. The fiber should be completely weighted by the matrix. This is an important criteria for load transfer. Now we know that the matrix transfer load from the one fiber to the other fiber. So how can a matrix transfer load to the fiber? If it has completely weighted the fiber, जहाँ पे भी fiber के ऊपर matrix नहीं रहेगा वहाँ पे load transfer नहीं हो पाएगा. So the complete weighting of matrix to the fibers is an essential requirement. So fiber surface weighting is an extremely important in achieving fiber matrix interaction in the composite, which is an essential requirement for good mechanical performance of a composite. So let us look into advantages and disadvantages of thermoset resins. So what are the advantages of thermoset resins? Like low viscosity is one of the advantages of thermoset resin. High thermal stability is another advantage of thermoset resin. Low viscosity, as I already told you, because of its low viscosity, it is very easy for the thermoset resin to completely move in between the intersection point of reinforcements in a composite. Thereby, there won't be any point inside a composite where there will be a lack of matrix, which is also called as a void. And void is responsible for poor mechanical properties of the composite, right? Thereby, we want a composite which is to be void free, and void free composites can be achieved if the viscosity is lower. And the other thing is the thermal stability of thermoset resins is very high, as I have discussed that once the crosslinks are formed, right, during the curing reaction, then the thermosets cannot be melted again, right? It has got very good chemical resistance and it has also lower creep. So what is creep? Last time we have discussed when this question was asked by Abhishek, right? So disadvantages of thermosetting resins are limited storage life at room temperature. So this is what I was saying to you earlier. Like if it is kept in the, suppose you take a fabric and if you apply a thermoset resin on it, but you do not want to produce a final composite out of it. But if you leave as it is, if you leave that fabric which is weighted by the matrix or weighted by the thermoset resin at the room temperature, it will automatically solidify in that state. But suppose if you do not want the composite to be produced into that state, or if you want to have number of plies or number of layers of that together and then you want to consolidate or compress all the layers together, then whatever thermoset resin you have poured onto the reinforcement, you will have to keep it under a रेफ्रिजरेशन स्टोरेज. उसको रूम टेम्परेचर पे रखोगे तो वो सॉलिडिफाई हो जाएगा. फिर एक बार सॉलिडिफाई हो गया, देन यू कैन नॉट मेल्ट इट अगेन. देन यू विल हैव टू यूज दैट पोर्शन एज अ or that portion in a separate application. Now the curing time is longer. Now what is the curing time? It is a change from liquid to solid, or from a low viscous state to a solid state. So that is a longer when compared to that of thermoplastic resin, right? Because it undergoes a chemical reaction. Covalent bonds are formed. So other disadvantage with thermoset resin is it has got a low strength to failure. That is, its impact strength is poor, its energy absorption is poor, it is brittle in nature. So thermoset polymers such as epoxies, polyester and vinyl esters are more commonly used as matrix materials in continuous or long fiber composites, mainly because of the ease of the processing due to their low viscosity, right? So why they are popular in long fiber composites or continuous fiber composites? Mainly because of their lower viscosity. Whereas thermoplastic resins are mostly popular with the short fiber composites, right? But today thermoplastic resins are also finding applications in continuous fiber composites, and for which a concept of production of hybrid yarn is gaining a lot of attention. So what is that? We will see later. So these are the different kinds of thermoset resins like epoxy, polyester, vinyl ester, cyanate ester. So these are low molecular weight liquids initially, right? And they certain kind of hardener is added to them when they are mixed with fibers, so that they change their state from viscous or low viscosity liquid to low viscous liquid to finally a solid state for the production of composites. So if you want the chemistry of epoxy, polyester, vinyl ester, cyanate ester, I can suggest you certain books. You can go and read through it. Next, let us move on to thermoplastics. Now we have discussed that in thermoplastics, we have discussed in thermoset that there are polymeric chains, and the molecules in these polymeric chains are held together by means of crosslinks. Now here again you can see this is a polymeric chain, this is another polymeric chain, this is another polymeric chain, but the molecules in this polymeric chain are not linked by crosslinks. You can see there is a certain gap, right? They are held together by mere force of attraction, like van der Waals force of attraction or weak hydrogen bonds, right? So when you apply heat and pressure to such molecular chains which are not linked by crosslinks, what happens is that this molecular chains can, or this polymeric chains can move relative to each other. Suppose I apply heat and pressure, अभी जो ये polymeric chain का location यहाँ पे है, so it can slightly move ahead, right? Like these bonds can be broken and these chains can move relative to each other. And suppose you cool it later on, then at whatever place you cool it, these molecules will freeze themselves at that new position, right? So this is the difference between thermoset and thermoplastic matrix. As they are not linked by crosslinks to each other, right? They can move relative to each other. So once they move relative to each other and once you again solidify them, so they will freeze themselves at the new places. Now this can be done any number of times, right? Thereby the thermoplastics can be melted and reshaped. Are you getting it? And thereby this is one of the important advantage of thermoplastic matrix, that it can be melted and reshaped and thereby it is recyclable, right? So thermoplastics, individual molecules are not chemically joined together. So these individual molecules are not chemically joined each other, like they do not form cross links as in case of thermoset resins, right? They are held in place by weak secondary bonds or intermolecular forces. So these are held by secondary bonds or intermolecular forces such as van der Waals bonds and hydrogen bonds. So what are these? You should go and clear your the basics. You should go and clear your basics of 12th standard again, right? So with the application of heat, these secondary bonds in solid thermoplastic polymers can be temporarily broken and the molecules can be moved relative to each other or flow to a new configuration if pressure is applied on them. So that is what I was saying. Once heat is applied, these bonds will break, and if you apply a pressure, then they can move relative to each other, and if you then cool it, they will freeze in that new position, right? So on cooling, the molecules can be frozen in their new configuration and the secondary bonds are restored. So the bonds will be again restored, resulting in a new solid shape. Thus a thermoplastic polymer can be heat softened, it can be melted, and it can be reshaped, or it can be post formed, or it can be recycled, right? So this can be done as many times as it is desired. So these are the advantages of thermoplastic polymers, which are nothing but the disadvantage of thermoplastic polymers. Like they have unlimited shelf life at room temperature. We have seen that thermoset resin has limited shelf life at room temperature. Like if you take a epoxy and if you pour a hardener in it along with the fibers, it has to be kept under the refrigeration condition if you are not planning to produce a composite immediately, right? It has a shorter fabrication time, like curing time is shorter when compared to that of thermoset resin. It is easier to handle because usually thermoplastic polymer at room temperature, it is available in the form of fiber, it is available in the form of powder, or it is available in the form of granule, or it is available in the form of film. Whereas thermoset polymers are available as low viscosity liquid, so it is tacky in nature, chipko hota hai, right? So it is easier to handle thermoplastic polymers. Another advantage we have discussed that thermoplastic polymers are recyclable in nature. Why? Because the individual molecules are not joined to each other by means of cross links, right? There is no chemical reaction. They are held in place by means of weak hydrogen bonds, right? And if you apply heat, weak If you apply heat, weak intermolecular forces between the molecules will break, and if you apply pressure, the polymeric chains will move relative to each other, and if you cool it again, then it will solidify to a new configuration, to a new shape, and thereby they are recyclable in nature. They have high impact strength, whereas thermoset resin, we have seen that they are brittle in nature, whereas thermoplastic polymers are ductile in nature. They have high energy absorption, high impact strength absorption. They have a high fracture resistance. We have discussed that thermoset resins have poor fracture resistance. That is, if a crack is generated or if a fracture is generated, that fracture will easily generate throughout the composite. Whereas in case of thermoplastic polymers, we have high fracture resistance. They have high strain to failure, right? This is one of the another advantage of thermoplastic polymer. Now, what are the disadvantages of thermoplastic polymers? They have got high melt viscosity. So this is one of the major problems of thermoplastic polymers, which is a very high melt viscosity. It is 10 to the power 2 to the 10 to the power 4 Pascal seconds, right? So this viscosity is very high when compared to that of a thermoset resin. Thermoset resin will flow like a water. They have got high creep. So this concept of creep we have discussed last time. They have poor thermal stability. Like you apply heat, they will melt. If you cool it, they will again solidify in the new configuration. So thermoplastic polymers are mostly used with short fiber reinforced composites like injection molded. However, the interest in continuous fiber reinforced thermoplastic matrix is going. So I was discussing a concept of hybrid yarn here. So what is the hybrid yarn? We will see in the later classes. So these are the different types of thermoplastic polymers which are commonly used, like polyester, polypropylene, nylon, polyethylene, polyether ketone, polyethylene sulfide, and thermoplastic polyamides. So if you want the chemistry, again I will be suggesting a book at the end, so you can refer to that. Now, what are the selection criteria for high performance composites? For high performance composite, right, what should be the characteristics of matrix that is desired? So for high performance composite, the desirable mechanical properties of the matrix are the matrix should have high tensile modulus, and it should have high tensile strength, and it should have high fracture toughness. So these are the properties which are desired for a matrix if they are being used in a high performance composite. High performance composite like in aerospace applications and Formula 1 cars, right? Where like in aerospace application, the matrix will be subjected to high temperatures, high temperature variations, right? So at that time, it is necessary that they have high tensile modulus, which also influences the compressive strength of the composites. They should have the high tensile strength, which controls the intra-ply cracking in a composite laminate, right? So what is an intra-ply? Last time you have seen what is a laminate. A laminate consists of number of laminas, right? So suppose one lamina is made of carbon fiber, the other lamina is made of glass fiber, and the other lamina is made of a Kevlar fiber, right? So now in different lamina the fibers are different, so that is called as an interply lamina. Now I'm not saying intraply, I'm saying interply. Like different laminas are made by different fibers and they are sandwiched together and they are made together in a single part, like, okay. And what is an intraply? Intraply means in the single ply, like suppose while weaving, if you keep one carbon, one glass, one carbon, one glass, right? So in the same lamina, you are having different kind of fibers. So that is called as an intraply. In the same lamina, if you are using different fibers, then it is called as an intraply. But in different lamina, if you are using different fibers, like if one lamina is entirely made of carbon fibers, these are carbon fibers, and there is another lamina which is completely made of glass fibers, and if you take or put this glass fiber lamina on the top of carbon fiber lamina, and if you consolidate it to form a single laminate, then that is a interply laminate, right? Whereas in intraply laminate, in the single lamina, we'll be having different fibers, like this is carbon, this is glass, this is again carbon, this is again, right? So in the same lamina, if you have different fibers, then that is called as an intraply lamina. And if in the different laminas, if you have different fibers, like if in one lamina if there is only one fiber, in the other lamina if there is other fiber, and if you combine them together to form a laminate, then that is called as interply. So high tensile strength, if the matrix is having high tensile strength, then it will control the intra-ply cracking in a composite laminate. So these details will be looking in the later classes, but for now you just remember that for a matrix to be used in high performance composite, it should have a high tensile modulus, as tensile modulus also influences the compressive strength. It should have high tensile strength, which controls the intra-ply cracking in a composite laminate, and it should have a high fracture toughness, right? Fracture toughness, it controls the ply delamination and crack growth. Now what is a ply delamination? We have discussed that we are keeping the different laminas on the top of each other and we are forming a laminate by application of pressure, right? So these two lamina, suppose I make a composite with two lamina, right? So it is a two ply lamina. So these two plies should not separate. So this separation between the plies is called as delamination and crack growth. So if a matrix is having high fracture toughness, right? So it will not allow the laminates to separate from each other. That is, it will prevent the delamination of the plies and it will also prevent the crack growth between the plies, right? So selection of matrix for polymer composites. Now we have seen for high performance composites. So for polymer composites, what should be the criteria? Good dimensional stability at elevated temperature and resistance to moisture and solvents is desired. That is, the polymer should have the melting temperature or should have the higher glass transition temperature, not a melting temperature. It should have a glass transition temperature, and the glass transition temperature should be higher than the maximum use temperature of the composite, right? So for a particular application, suppose the maximum temperature to which the composite will be exposed is suppose 200 degrees Celsius, then the polymer matrix should have a glass transition temperature which is higher than 200 degrees Celsius, right? It should not be that it should melt at 200 degrees Celsius. The polymer should not dissolve, swell or crack like if a composite is being used in certain applications. So these polymers, they should not dissolve into that application. Like if a certain composite is being used in jet applications, right? So jet fuels can be solvents for the polymer matrix composite. So they may dissolve or they may swell or they may crack or otherwise degrade the properties of the matrix, and thereby the properties of the composite will be degraded. Similarly, gasoline and motor oil are common solvents in the automotive environment. Suppose a composite is being used in automotive environment, so the matrix in that composite should not melt or should not dissolve in gasoline or motor oil. Okay, thank you.